Alright, I'm talking about Yu-Gi-Oh! So, I used to play this game all the time back in the day. I say back in the day, but I'm not that old. That was many years ago, but the game was still pretty far into its life cycle back then. It's not like I was a veteran for when the series first came out. I came out before I was born, so I'm obviously no veteran. But I remember my first deck was Dark Magician, and then my second one, which the one I still love to this day, Stardust Dragon. Cool deck. Anyways, I'm going to be talking about how back then playing was versus kind of playing the game now. And don't worry if you think I'm just going to be completely dumping on why the new meta sucks and Yu-Gi-Oh! Will never be as good as it was, which that's not my purpose. That's not my intention. Any case, about probably 8 months ago, I finally decided, you know what, I'm going to get back into that Yu-Gi-Oh! Game. I had a lot of fun with that game quite a while ago, back when I was like 12 or something. I'm going to go back to that game, play it, see what it's like. I jump in, and the first game I play, which this is at low rank, what's the green one? Sorry, I can't remember what it's called. The green rank and Master Duel. And I just get bombarded by a full turn combo, I don't know, the 200-second combo, and I instantly lose after that because I have no idea what to do. I'm using the Dark Magician structure deck. No, sorry, not Dark Magician. The Synchro of Unity structure deck, right? And that was terrifying. So right after, I was like, this game sucks, dude. Why'd they have to ruin it like that? Then I got off and didn't play for a month. Then I got back on. And I fiddled with my deck a little, added Stardust Dragon. I tried making my old deck I used to have. I was hey, this one did pretty good back in the day. Let's see how it does now. Spoiler alert, it did not do well. And also, Master Duel has horrendous matchmaking. I just want to, because if you don't play it for a while, it sends you all the way down to the bottom rank, which that is just evil, because I swear you go in there 50% of the time, actual starter, you using the starter deck, you don't know what you're doing, and then you get bombarded by this guy who hasn't played in 2 months, but he was platinum last time he stopped playing, and he just instantly wipes the floor with you. That is a horrible experience to start with, and that's 50% of the time what you're going to get. Which, that's horrible. But anyways, it still didn't do well. That was disappointing. So I kept on playing. I got one of my friends into it, and we kept on grinding it, modifying our decks. Until we got them to a pretty steady, we can get combos. Using that deck that I had built, I was finally able to get to a fairly decent rank. I got to Gold 5, I was pretty proud of that. But that's when I started noticing that, dang, the second you get in here, this deck I've made still isn't working. So that's the point where I decided to actually get into the meta, I went onto, YouTube, looked at all the good cards, I found a really good deck for my Stardust thing, the best Stardust deck. Then I copied that, and then I was like, oh dang, this is my first round into that, after having that deck. And basically, having that good of a deck allows you to do this bullshit. Grab a Stardust Charge Warrior, get Majestic Merge Dragon, yep, Stardust Dragon, activate that, there we go. Yep, let's combo that, yep, Double Warrior, Zebra those to get Blackwing. Okay, let's go ahead and do that. Activate Double Warrior's effect from the hand to summon him. Fuse them to get Majestic Mirage Shooting Star, whatever that dumb thing's name is. Aw, dang. I was only one-third through my combo. That is not a top-tier deck. You should see, freaking Snake Eyes. That bullshit, bro. That stuff's evil. Now, anyways. That I don't really see that as a problem. I think doing that stuff is so fun. You know, being able to combo that stuff, do crazy stuff. Being able to feel powerful in this game is awesome. But the thing that does annoy me about the new meta is everything is centered around negates. Negate this, negate that. That's your only way of winning, is through negating. That's pretty much all you play for, getting enough negates. Which, the issue for me with that is your goal of the game is to make it so your opponent cannot play. And I think that I personally think that's really lame. You know, like, instead of, you know, your monsters versus their monsters, it's your negates versus how many effects they have. Their goal is to just use as many effects until you run out of negates. It's not about having climactic battles at all. And using your monster's unique effects against their monster's effects and attacking them, see what happens. It's all about negating theirs before it can even happen. I just think it's I think that's a really lame aspect of it, and that kind of makes me upset. And I'm not going to say there's no strategy involved in being that negate centralized. I mean, you have, let's say you have 3 negates, which that's, you know, if they just started their turn, they only have a hand, you have 3 negates, that's pretty good. You should be able to stop them, but it does add some kind of strategy to, like, oh, when should I use this? If they use this card, should I let them burn their resources, or should I activate it now in case they get too good of cards? You know, you have to kind of weigh the risk with reward, and that is kind of fun to do that, but especially when you're low on negates and you have to use them very wisely. But also, traps, I think, are way too important. Like, you gotta have hand traps, you know, you gotta have that Max C, Ash Blossom, the bread and butter, and then, you know, Effect Veiler, the Crossout Designator is a prime example of how important hand traps are, because that's a card that you have to, a lot of the time, protect against other hand traps. That's how, because you know your opponent's gonna have an Ash Blossom in their deck, you know they're gonna probably have a Max C, so get a Crossout Designator, because you know you have that as well, so then you can negate it. And then there's Called by the Grave, which is also specifically it's specifically very useful for a lot of things, but also for negating their hand traps when you're going, like Ash Blossom or Max C. That's how important that hand traps have been. And I also think it's kind of lame that they are almost always entirely focused on ending your opponent's turn early by negating an effect. I think a good example of one that doesn't do that is Nibiru. Is that how it's pronounced? Nibiru, the Primal Being. You know, you get to tribute 5 of their monsters, or, well, after they've special summoned 5 or more monsters, you contribute them to summon a kaiju to their side. I think that's a cool, unique effect that effectively burns a lot of their resources without using some negate to just end their turn immediately. But that's something you pretty much, other than that card, that's not really something you ever see. It's always just negating that effect and ending their turn early. So you can go next, so they can do the exact same thing to you. Unless they got unlucky and didn't get a hand trap. That's why current Yu-Gi-Oh! Matches are always so short. It's like, you're gonna win on, like, your second turn or, like, your third turn, and it's like, I think that negates being so heavily impactful is not the best thing. But the thing, I also don't think there's really any way for the series to go back at all, you know? Which is kind of upsetting, but once again, like I said, I think it's very important for you to feel powerful during your turn, which is why these cool combos, I think, are fine. I just think they're too negate oriented. Like, you summon all these cards not for their strong attack, or their cool effect. You summon them so they can activate their negating effect, really. And if it's not a negating effect, it's so that they can summon another monster, which probably has a negating effect. Now, of course, I still think it's fully possible to have fun playing that way, you know? I think that when they activate a negate and you negate their negate, you know, and it goes back and forth, that stuff can be fun, because it's like, that's really pushing each of your decks to the very limit, you know? Just when you have enough negates to go around that you're having that long of a negate battle. But I think that makes it a little too linear when negate battles are about the only battles you actually have, because other than that, you're just attacking directly and finishing the duel, because they never got to summon anything in the first place. So I don't think there's any way to go back, and I honestly don't think they should. I think it's a better idea to kind of grow with this, and instead of going back to where you don't have this, but in exchange you've got different kinds of battling, you know, where monsters are actually battling for one. And it's, you know, you're trying to summon a lot of monsters to beat how many monsters they have. You kind of grow with the idea of using your monsters' negating abilities. I think it's better to grow with this, try to add more options, than it is to just go crazy on banning and all that stuff. I've always thought it's usually better to give buffs than give outrageous nerfs to everything when it comes to balancing things, because I think the more powerful you feel, the more fun you're going to have with the game. But I've been ranting for quite a while. I didn't think I'd go for nearly as long as I have on this. But here we are. When I was recording this and I saw that I had reached 10 minutes on just talking about this, I was like, no way, I must have skipped like an entire chunk of the video where I left blank. Because I just did not think I'd be talking about this for 10 minutes. And here I am at like 12 minutes and I'm still going. But I think that Yu-Gi-Oh! Is still a fun game. Can still be fun. I definitely, like I said, I have some issues where I think it lacks options. But and don't ask me for that. I'm not a genius on how to balance that. Don't ask me on what I think they could do to fix it. I'm not sure. They're going to have to figure that out on their own. I don't know what kind of cards you could add to give players more options other than negating their negates and all that, but I definitely think it's possible, though. But anyways, that's my Yu-Gi-Oh! Rant. Keep in mind, I'm not the most knowledgeable on the subject. I have played quite a bit, and I am knowledgeable on the meta. You know, I was able to get, like, in, like, past gold, obviously. I got past gold and platinum and stuff, and that was... But I'm no professional. I'm not, like, some tournament-winning genius at this game. Like, that's just all my opinion. Feel free to disagree, it's fine. But I did try to be pretty, you know, objective and reasonable in my analysis. That's what I think of the game. Thanks for watching. Bye.